Seattle, Los Angeles, who do you got now and in the future? In this video, we are going to look at who is going to own Los Angeles women's basketball this year and in the future. Will it be the UCLA Bruins or the USC Trojans? I will look at the current team, the recruiting in the future, and the coaches and tell you what I think as well. I want to hear back from you as well. Before we start, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. Now, the fun thing about comparing these two teams is they are pretty much right now looking even Steven. They are currently ranked 9 and 10 in the polls with UCLA 9, USC 10. They are currently sitting side by side in the Pac-12 standings at 5 and 6 with both having a record of 6 and 4. They even played each other in a home and home with each team taking home one win while they were at home. And these were fun affairs as they packed out the house for them with alums like Cheryl Miller coming to put eyes on the resurgence of women's basketball in LA. I would think most USC fans, if they put their hands on their heart, did not expect USC to have this much success and be challenging as well as they are. Now, UCLA is a different story. They were a very hot preseason pick. I think they were rated number 3 in the preseason polls. But then again, those same polls had the Gamecocks at number 8. However, early in the season, the Bruins lived up to their height as they came out like gangbusters. First with a big win over UConn, where it looked like they had the perfect game going, throwing it into Betts inside, but as well, they were going to Rice on the outside in Osborne, and it just looked beautiful and perfect. UCLA then followed that up by a strong win at Ohio State, and it looked like, it's going to be between them and the Gamecocks as they both had really bigs and Betts and Cardoso. At least that's what I thought. But then the wheels have slowly come off for UCLA, unfortunately. First of all, they have had injuries. Obviously, Lauren Betts is out and reportedly day to day. Nobody knows what is really going on with it, but it appears that she will be back. Another injury that UCLA has had, which has gone under the radar a bit, was Emily Bassor, who's their forward that can shoot from outside, who would have been a perfect fit this season, just giving one more shooter and somebody that could take pressure off of Duglic as well as Sontag as well. Both of those players currently are overseas with their Olympic commitments, so that's also hurt UCLA over the last 2 games. But the big thing is Betts, as they just seem a little bit lost without her. They're trying to readjust and go through the guards a little bit. And Corey Close is trying to play it out that, hey, this will serve us down the track and make us stronger for when Betts returns. And that might be the case. Now, USC has some good JuJu, if you don't mind me saying that. Terrible joke, I apologize. But they are over-delivering on expectation. I think the preseason poll had them at 18, and JuJu Watkins has been as advertised. You could not have gotten anything more than what she has given you thus far. Just totally delivered in every way. The stats that she is putting up are ridiculous. So she's averaging 27 points, 6.9 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2.7 steals, 1.6 blocks. She has a few too many turnovers at 3.6, but as much as she handles the ball, it's ridiculous. And her field goal percentage from the floor is 43%. From three-point land, she is shooting just over 35%. Her efficient field goal percentage is 48%. Her numbers look almost identical to a freshman named Caitlin Clark, but she goes about it in a different way. She can shoot the 3 ball, but as well, she tends to almost have the Michael Jordan Kobe game where she works her man to her spot, usually the elbow, and is just money from the elbow. It's almost like a layup for her. As well, in transition, she's ridiculous as well, as she can go to the basket or she can pull up whenever she wants. Ohio State made a massive mistake as they tried to press them and allowed USC just to thrive in the open game, and they just crushed them in that opening game. But even more impressive to me, when USC played UCLA in the first matchup, she got banged around, and Osborne did a great job on her, and they had a great plan. We're going to bang you and work you off the ball. She didn't let emotions get to her. She just kept on working the problem and kept USC in the game. Then she made her adjustments, and obviously USC got their win back when UCLA came back to their home. So I just found that really good that she kept her cool. And then Gottlieb was saying that in the press conference, how impressed JuJu was able to sort of adjust during the heat of the moment when they were playing that first game versus UCLA. And I would agree with that. That's for sure. She is money. There is no doubt. Now, looking at USC and UCLA for this season, it's interesting. It's almost so even because, obviously USC has JuJu, but as well, they have Forbes, who's a senior, and they have Rhea Marshall, who gives them a big. So I don't think many teams are going to be wanting to play USC at tournament time because JuJu could just go off and dominate, and it's hard to control her or stop her one-on-one. You definitely have to come up with that game plan where you're throwing 2 or 3 at her and making her pass up and see if her teammates can make the play. And Forbes has the ability to get hot and make plays. So I think they are a very scary team when they go into the tournament and for the rest of the Pac-12. I don't think they will win the Pac-12, obviously, but the Pac-12 tournament, that could be interesting. They could get on a roll. That's the interesting thing about tournament time. Now with UCLA, they're obviously having this little bit of a slumber with some of their players away overseas and Betts out. And it's, can they regroup and get it back? And is Close right? Will this little disruption ultimately be better for them, as it'll make them depend on their guards a little bit more and bring them out of their shell and make Kiki Rice sort of make her be more dominant? I guess that's what Corey Close is pushing. I want the guards to hunt for their shots. Now, Osborne has been great this year. Every time Close is praising her, even in the games where, like Stanford, she's still tough and showing up and is clearly the heart and soul of her team, and has done nothing but help her draft stock. I think it's going to be interesting to see who goes first as a point guard, if it'll be Sheldon from Ohio State or if it will be Osborne. But she has done nothing to hurt her value while at UCLA for her 5th COVID year. So if I was going to put odds on for going to the Final Four this season, it's almost even. I'd give UCLA slightly higher, but I do that with great caution because you just don't know what's going on with Lauren Betts. If she comes back, then you think they could get the train back on the tracks, and I would give them a slightly higher edge just because they have that inside-outside game. But if she doesn't come back, or if she's not as effective when she comes back, then I think it's even money, because I like, if they don't have Betts UCLA, then I like JuJu just as much as UCLA with Osborne. I know she's senior leadership, and I know Kiki Rice is good, but JuJu's on another level in my opinion. Now, in terms of future, they both look bright. So the next year's recruiting class, 24-25, USC has the number 1 class just to load talent with JuJu, and UCLA also has the number 3 class. So they have both recruited well, so you think they're both going to be strong going into the future. There's no doubt about that. In terms of their core players returning, I mean, obviously Betts and Kiki Rice are the foundation for UCLA, and they have other good parts as well. But, man, JuJu, again, I'm going on and on. I bet you're sick of me saying JuJu. But she is an unbelievable talent, and she's the next Caitlin Clark, in my opinion. And combine her talent with the number 1 class, and, man, you've got some excitement coming for USC fans in the future, and I think it's a little bit brighter than UCLA versus their core of Betts and Kiki Rice, which is still good. Don't send me the hate comments if you want, but they're both damn good. I just think USC just looks a little bit brighter in my opinion, and a lot of that is to do, the next thing I was going to talk about is the coaching. And before we start on this, just YouTube, it's a dangerous thing because you put your opinions out there, and normally I don't take videos down. The only reason I take a video down is if there's a copyright issue. People thought I took down the UConn video comparing them to Dallas because I was criticizing UConn and the comments were coming after me. No, that was not the case. It was because I got copyrighted for using the Dallas theme song. Because in the initial video, I had it all set up with the Dallas theme song and comparing UConn and Gino to Dallas, and tons of hate, and then re-uploaded it. And I think I got copyrighted again. It was just a disaster. But the other video that I've done is I've done the top 5 coaches. Like the initial one I did was like, if you were buying stock, what coaches would you buy stock on? And one of those, just a bit of a different look. I just didn't want the usual 5 of Auriemma, Van Devere, Mulkey, or whoever, and maybe Staley, and I'd probably throw in Vic Schaefer, and just the traditional coaches that have won a lot. Maybe I'm missing one out. No, I wanted to have like an up and coming coach, and so I put in Corey Close, and that one's really come back to bite me as I've gotten more information on it, and I'm a bit regretful of that choice. It is nothing dramatically against Corey Close. I just don't think she's just not, in reflection, she's really not the type of coach I would really go for. She seems a little bit up and down and quite emotional, where I like more the steady coach. I thought it was very confronting after they had the initial loss, or I think it was 2 games. Betts had been out, and she was quite tearful in that press conference, and it gave me the impression that Betts was out for the season, obviously, and I was like stunned to find out that she was potentially day to day. It was like, oh my God, why were you so emotional after that game? And I don't know what's going on with Lauren Betts personally. There's obviously something going on, and she was upset about that. So I'm not saying she was wrong with that, but then, and it's not just that, she was so proud of her team for fighting hard in that game, and then they lost to Stanford. I understand they got out hustled and things like that, but how she went about blasting her team in the media and just going on and on about it when your best players, I think they were down 1 player to Europe. I think it was Sontag was in Europe, and it was just one of those games. It was just like, ugh. I wasn't a big fan of the whole, we didn't have character, we didn't come out with heart, I'm going to verbally go after my team via the press. I'm like, no. But the thing is, and I understand, you have to be true to your style. So some coaches are yellers and screamers and emotional, and some aren't. I'm not saying you have to be Spock and not have any emotion. But the other thing, just looking at her results. So she's been at UCLA since 2011-12 and has only finished, her highest finish is the Elite 8 in the tournament. Again, like the way she talks about mental health, and I think she is supportive in trying to grow the game, and I like the way she engages with the media. But yeah, I between the 2 coaches, Lindsay Gottlieb comes off very impressive if you look at her resume and what she's done previous. So she knew early on while she was playing basketball that she wanted to be a coach, and she's been mentored well. And then her first gig with Cal, I mean, she took Cal to the Final Four in her second season there, which is ridiculous, and was able to win at Cal. Then took a 2-year Cavalier, like coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers, because she loves X's and O's. And then since getting to USC, 12-16, and then 21-10, and now they look poised to get to the tournament and potentially do something. So I think it's pretty obvious who I am fired up about, which is USC. As again, good coach, and then JuJu, again, I'll go on about her, but 2 things that impressed me. When they played that first game against UCLA, and she had like the cramp in her calf, and she came out, Gottlieb wouldn't put her back in, and JuJu was just so annoyed at Gottlieb. Not at Gottlieb, but that she couldn't get back into the game, and I loved it. She was just rolling her eyes and pissed off because the game was already done. That's why Gottlieb wouldn't put her back in, but JuJu wanted some of that action, which I love. That's fine. I love a pissed off superstar that wants to go out and compete and pissed off when the coach won't let him. But then again, this is a bit of a worry. I think they were playing Colorado on the road, and JuJu, like, Gottlieb had to put her back in with her 4th foul. And I believe, like, they were up a little bit, and then JuJu got a charge. It was BS. It was total Pac-12 ref BS on that call. Like, the player jumped in front of her before she received the pass. And as she caught the pass, JuJu turned and ran him over in half court. And they called it. I couldn't believe it. Was the worst. I hate that. Technically right, awful. The rule needs to be changed. I hate the block. I digress. But yeah, and they just fell apart without JuJu. So that and lost the game to Colorado. I think they had like a few point lead at that point, but they had no chance once JuJu left. So they are so dependent on her. So obviously she has a bad game or she gets into foul trouble. That hinders their ability to progress in the tournament. But still, yeah, between the two right now, even money. Betts comes back. UCLA is slightly favored to go further, but man, I would not be surprised if USC is able to make some sort of run because they have a damn good player and a good coach. So it's obvious I'm a big USC fan, but over to you. Who do you have as a brighter future this year and into the future? Leave your comments as well, your poison. I imagine UCLA, you will leave me lots of poison, which I totally understand. If you've watched this far, then please give the video a like and consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching. Have a great night.